7 beautiful winter flowers that bloom when everything else sleeps. Your garden doesn't have to look dead and boring from November through February. In fact, some of the most stunning flowers you'll ever grow bloom right in the middle of winter's harshest season. While your neighbors are staring at frozen brown lawns and bare branches, your yard could be absolutely exploding with color. Reds, yellows, whites, blues, and purples that seem impossible in cold weather. This isn't fantasy. This is real. And I'm Sam from Seniors Gardening Advice, and today I'm showing you exactly which flowers to plant right now, so your garden never stops being beautiful, no matter what the temperature says outside. Before we dig into these amazing plants, please hit that subscribe button and like this video. Share it with someone in your family who loves gardening. Your comments help us reach more gardeners like you. So let us know in the comments below which winter flower you're most excited to try in your garden this year. Introduction to winter gardening. When autumn leaves fall and temperatures drop, most people think gardening season is over. They put away their tools, stop visiting their garden, and accept 6 months of looking out at a gray, lifeless yard. But here's what many gardeners don't know. Nature has incredible secrets up her sleeve. While frost covers the ground and snow blankets the landscape, dozens of beautiful flowers are preparing to bloom. These aren't delicate tropical plants that need special care. These are tough, reliable plants that have evolved to thrive in winter conditions. The winter gardening world opens up a completely different palette of colors and textures. You get fragrant blooms, unusual shapes, and hardy plants that actually seem to perform better in cold weather. Some of these flowers have been delighting gardeners for hundreds of years. Others are becoming more popular as people discover that a colorful winter garden is absolutely possible. The best part? Many of these winter bloomers don't just survive the cold. They actually need cold weather to produce their flowers. This is called vernalization, and it's one of nature's most interesting survival strategies. Some plants actually require a certain number of cold nights before they can produce blooms. So winter isn't a barrier for these flowers. It's their invitation to the party. Before we get into each individual flower, remember that if you're new to the Seniors Gardening Advice channel, subscribing takes just 1 click, and it helps us continue creating gardening guides for people at every level. Let's explore 7 of the most beautiful winter flowers you can grow.
Flower number 1, Winter Jasmine. Let's start with one of the most cheerful winter flowers available, Winter Jasmine. This is a medium-sized shrub that puts on an absolutely spectacular show during the coldest months of the year. Unlike many other winter bloomers, Winter Jasmine is an easy plant to grow, even if you're just starting out. The real magic of Winter Jasmine happens in late winter, when this shrub produces masses of bright yellow flowers that cover its long, gracefully arching branches. There's something almost defiant about those cheerful golden blooms poking out from a frozen garden. They seem to laugh at the cold and remind you that spring is coming. The flowers appear in clusters and have a delicate appearance, but they're incredibly tough and cold-hardy. One of the best things about winter jasmine is how low maintenance it is. You can plant it along a fence, trained against a wall, or left to grow naturally in your landscape. The arching branches naturally cascade downward, creating a beautiful fountain-like effect. Some people use it as a climbing plant by tying the branches to a trellis. Others simply let it spread as a ground cover or understory planting. Winter jasmine grows well in most soil conditions, though it prefers well-draining soil. It's not too picky about sunlight either, though it blooms more abundantly with more light. Water it regularly during the growing season, but once established, it's quite drought-tolerant. You can prune it after it finishes blooming to keep its shape neat and controlled. The hardiness range for winter jasmine is USDA Zone 6 through 9. This means if you live in the northern regions of Zone 6, you might get some winter damage to the branches, but the plant will generally recover. In warmer zones, it's bulletproof and reliable. Here's a pro tip. If you want maximum bloom production, plant winter jasmine in a location where it gets at least 4 to 6 hours of direct sunlight daily. While it will bloom in partial shade, it will produce significantly more flowers in brighter locations. If you love the idea of a winter blooming shrub, but you're in a colder climate, Keep watching, because we have other options that might work better for you.
Flower number 2, Crocus. Now let's talk about one of the most beloved winter flowers in the world, Crocus. These delicate little cups of color are often the first sign that winter is finally releasing its grip on the landscape. Crocus flowers are small, usually standing only 2 to 6 inches tall, but what they lack in size, they make up for in personality and presence. The beautiful thing about crocuses is that they often bloom while snow is still on the ground. You'll see these cheerful flowers poking their heads up through the white, creating a striking contrast that signals hope and renewal. Crocuses come in a wide range of colors, including deep purple, light lavender, white, yellow, orange, and even striped varieties. Some have dark stripes on lighter backgrounds, creating interesting patterns. Crocuses bloom from late winter through early spring, typically starting in late January or February, depending on where you live and the specific variety you plant. They close up when it's cold or at night, and then pop open again when it warms up or the sun appears. This daily opening and closing is fascinating to watch, especially when you have dozens or hundreds of them blooming simultaneously. These flowers work beautifully in many garden settings. Plant them in rock gardens where their small size fits perfectly among the stones. Scatter them along walkways so you see them frequently. Naturalize them in lawns by planting bulbs in irregular drifts. This creates a natural look that's far more attractive than organized rows. You can even plant them under deciduous trees where they'll bloom before the tree leaves unfold and shade the area. The hardiness range for crocus is USDA zones 3 through 8. This is an incredibly wide range, meaning crocuses grow successfully across most of North America. If you're in Zone 2, you can still grow some special varieties, though they might not come back reliably after the first year. Planting crocuses is simple. In fall, plant the bulbs about 3 inches deep and 3 to 4 inches apart. They prefer well-draining soil, but aren't too fussy about soil quality. They don't require much fertilizer, and they actually do better in lean soil than rich soil. Once planted, they largely take care of themselves, reliably coming back year after year. One thing to watch for with crocuses is squirrels and chipmunks, which love to dig up the bulbs. If you have trouble with rodents, you can protect the bulbs by planting them in wire cages or plant them deeper than usual. Flower number 3, Hellebores Niger, Christmas Rose. Here's a flower with an absolutely stunning reputation. Hellebores Niger, commonly called the Christmas rose. Despite its name, the Christmas rose isn't actually a rose at all. It's a completely different plant that happens to bloom around the Christmas holidays and produces flowers that somewhat resemble roses in their form and elegance. The flowers of Hellebores are distinctive and beautiful. They appear as white or pale pink bowl-shaped blooms with prominent stamens in the center. The flowers are surprisingly large, sometimes 2 to 3 inches across, and they seem almost too delicate to survive the cold. Yet this is exactly what makes them so remarkable. They're tougher than they look. What's really special about Christmas roses is their reliability and longevity. A single flower can last for weeks on end, and the blooms often fade to a greenish color as they age, creating an interesting 3-stage effect of white, pink, green over the weeks. Gardeners often treasure these long-lasting flowers because they provide winter interest for an extended period. Christmas roses typically start blooming in December and can continue blooming right through February in many climates. Some people say the flowers bloom earlier in mild winters and later in harsh winters, as if the plant is responding to temperature cues. The foliage is attractive too, dark green, leathery, and evergreen, meaning it stays on the plant year-round and provides structure even when not in bloom. Growing Christmas roses requires a bit more attention than some other winter flowers. They prefer partial shade and cannot tolerate extreme heat, which is why they're perfect for zones 4 through 9. Plant them in rich, well-draining soil that's been amended with compost or other organic matter.
They like consistent moisture but absolutely cannot tolerate waterlogged soil or standing water. The hardiness range for Hellebores Niger is USDA zones 4 through 9. This makes them perfect for most gardeners, though gardeners in Zone 3 can still grow them with winter protection or in especially sheltered locations. Here's an important tip. Christmas roses are evergreen, so you can enjoy their foliage all winter long. In late spring, after flowering is complete, many gardeners cut away the old leaves to make room for the new foliage that will grow during summer. This also makes it easier to see and appreciate the flowers when they appear in winter. Don't forget to subscribe to Seniors Gardening Advice for more seasonal gardening tips like this. Each week we share practical advice for growing plants that thrive in your climate zone.
Flower number 4, Lachhenalia, Spring Snowflake. Next, let's explore a flower with a delightful common name, Spring Snowflake, which scientists call Lachhenalia. This is a bulb that produces some of the most delicate and charming winter flowers you'll ever see. Spring snowflakes are especially notable for their dainty bell-shaped flowers that dangle delicately from thin blade-like foliage. The flowers are usually white with green or pink markings, creating an elegant bicolor effect. They're not showy in a bold way. They're showy in a refined, sophisticated way that appeals to gardeners who appreciate subtlety and grace. What makes spring snowflakes particularly interesting is that they often make their first appearance while snow is still on the ground. The thin stems push up through the white stuff, and these delicate little flowers seem almost magical against the harsh winter landscape. They typically bloom in clusters of 3 to 8 flowers per stem, so even though individual flowers are small, a group of plants creates a nice visual impact. Spring snowflakes work beautifully in rock gardens where their small stature fits perfectly, and where the well-draining soil they prefer is readily available. They're also wonderful planted under trees, especially deciduous trees that will be bare of leaves when the flowers appear. Some gardeners create drifts of spring snowflakes in front of larger shade plants, using them as delicate foreground interest. The hardiness range for Lachhenalia is USDA zones 3 through 9, making them suitable for gardeners across a wide geographic area. Plant the bulbs in fall, about 3 inches deep and 3 inches apart. They prefer well-draining soil and actually do better in sandier, grittier soil than in heavy clay. They don't need rich fertilizer and perform well in lean soil. Spring snowflakes are incredibly reliable once established. They require minimal maintenance, multiply naturally over time, and return reliably year after year. They're one of the easiest winter flowers to grow, making them perfect for beginner gardeners or anyone who wants beautiful flowers without fussy care requirements.
Flower number 5, English Primrose. Now we're going to talk about a winter flower that breaks the mold in terms of color selection, the English Primrose. While many winter flowers are white, pink, or yellow, English Primroses come in an amazing range of colors that includes red, pink, blue, white, yellow, and orange. This gives you enormous flexibility in creating your winter garden design. Most primrose varieties bloom in spring or summer, but English primroses are special because they start showing off their tightly clustered 5-petaled flowers in winter. This means you get color when you need it most, when much of the landscape is still sleeping. The flowers are densely packed into clusters on sturdy stems, creating a bold visual impact even though each individual flower is small. The color range of English primroses is remarkable. You can find solid colors or interesting bicolor combinations with contrasting centers. Some have yellow centers surrounded by red petals. Others have white petals with pink edges. This variety means you can create cohesive color schemes or vibrant mixed plantings, depending on your preference. English primroses have a slightly fuzzy texture on both the flowers and foliage, adding another dimension of interest to the garden. The plants form compact mounds of attractive foliage that remain ornamental even before and after blooming.
They're not large plants, usually 8 to 12 inches tall, but what they lack in height, they make up for in visual impact. These flowers work beautifully along shaded pathways and driveways, where they provide much-needed pops of bright, bold color. They're especially effective when planted in groups of 3 or more, as the combined color impact is far greater than single plants scattered throughout the garden. Some gardeners mass plant English primroses to create drifts of solid color, while others mix colors for a rainbow effect. The hardiness range for English primroses is USDA zones 3 through 8. This covers most of North America, though gardeners in warmer zone 9 areas might find them challenging because English primroses actually prefer cooler conditions. They don't perform well in hot, humid climates. Plant English primroses in rich soil that's been amended with compost or other organic matter. They prefer consistent moisture and actually do better than many winter flowers with soil that stays slightly moist. However, they cannot tolerate waterlogged soil or poor drainage. They prefer partial shade and actually perform better in shade than in full sun, especially in warmer areas.
Flower number 6, Camellia. Let's shift our focus to a plant that brings not just visual beauty, but also fragrance to your winter garden. Camellias produce flowers so beautiful they resemble roses, and many varieties are wonderfully fragrant as well. Camellia flowers are large and showy, typically 2 to 4 inches across, depending on the variety. They come in white, pink, red, or combinations of these colors. Some varieties have ruffled petals, others have simple, elegant forms. Many have prominent stamens in the center that add another layer of visual interest. The flowers can be single, semi-double, or fully double, meaning they have varying numbers of petals. What really sets camellias apart is their fragrance. While many ornamental plants look beautiful but smell like nothing, many camellia varieties produce a delicious perfume that fills your garden with a pleasant scent. This fragrance is one of their most treasured qualities. Camellias usually bloom around the holidays or very early spring, typically starting in November or December in warmer areas. This makes them perfect for bringing color and scent into your home during the holiday season. Many people cut camellia flowers for indoor arrangements, where the combination of fragrance and beauty makes them incredibly special and meaningful. Plant camellias by a walkway or near an entrance where you can easily enjoy their fragrance as you pass by. They're also wonderful planted near a patio or sitting area, where you can enjoy both their visual beauty and their scent while relaxing. Some gardeners even plant them outside bedroom windows, where the fragrance will drift into the room on mild winter days. The hardiness range for camellia is USDA zones 7 through 9. This means they're best suited for gardeners in the southeast and other warm climates. If you live in Zone 6, you might be able to grow some of the hardier varieties with protection, but generally camellias need milder winters than the cold zones can provide. Growing camellias requires more attention than some of the other plants we've discussed. They prefer acidic soil with a pH between 5.5 and 6.5. If your soil is naturally alkaline, you'll need to amend it with sulfur, or grow camellias in containers with specialized acid-loving plant soil. They prefer partial shade, especially in warmer areas, and need consistent moisture during the growing season. If you're serious about growing camellias, they're definitely worth the effort. The combination of beautiful flowers, pleasant fragrance, and reliability in warm climates makes them a gardener's treasure.
Flower number 7 is Scilla, Siberian Squill, though some of your grandmothers might have simply called it Squill. Scillas produce miniature starry flowers that seem impossibly delicate and charming. These flowers come in shades of blue, white, pink, and violet, with blues being the most common and most famous. The flowers are so blue that they seem almost unnatural, as if someone painted them with an impossibly vibrant color. When hundreds of blue scillas bloom together, they create a carpet of blue that looks like small patches of sky have fallen to earth. The flowers are tiny, no more than a quarter-inch across, but they're produced in such profusion that the overall impact is stunning. The plants themselves are very small, usually 4 to 8 inches tall, creating delicate-looking flowers on thin, wiry stems. Despite their delicate appearance, they're actually quite tough.
Scillas bloom in late winter and very early spring, typically starting in February in many climates. They're among the longest-lived of the spring bulbs and often persist for decades in gardens where they first were planted. Over time, they multiply naturally, creating increasingly large drifts of color each year. The hardiness range for Scilla is USDA zones 2 through 8. This is one of the widest hardiness ranges of any bulb, making Scillas suitable for nearly every gardener in North America. Even gardeners in frigid Zone 2 can grow and enjoy these delightful flowers. Plant Scilla bulbs in fall, about 3 inches deep and 3 inches apart. They prefer well-draining soil and don't require rich fertilizer. In fact, they do fine in poor soil, making them perfect for rocky areas or areas where other plants struggle. They're incredibly low maintenance once established. One of the nicest things about Scillas is how they naturalize in lawns. You can scatter them throughout a lawn area where they'll bloom happily each spring, then die back so you can mow. Or plant them in large drifts under trees or shrubs for a spectacular display of color. Some gardeners even use them in rock gardens or along pathways.
General winter gardening tips. Now that we've explored 7 beautiful winter flowers, let's discuss some general tips that apply to growing any winter blooming plants. These suggestions will help you succeed regardless of which winter flowers you choose to grow. First, understand your climate zone. Each plant we've discussed comes with USDA hardiness zone information. While you might live in a zone that's slightly warmer or colder than a plant's ideal range, it's important to know your zone and choose plants accordingly. You can find your zone by searching USDA hardiness zone plus your location online. Second, prepare your soil properly. Most winter flowers prefer well-draining soil. If you have heavy clay soil, amend it with compost, aged bark, or other organic matter to improve drainage. Good drainage is especially important in winter when waterlogged soil can lead to root rot. Third, plant bulbs at the correct depth. Generally, plant bulbs at a depth equal to 3 times the bulb's height. This protects them from temperature fluctuations and rodent disturbance while ensuring they have enough energy to push up through the soil. Fourth, water regularly after planting. Even in winter, newly planted bulbs need consistent moisture as they establish roots. However, once established, winter blooming plants need less water than summer bloomers because there's less evaporation and plants aren't growing as vigorously. Fifth, consider adding winter interest beyond just flowers. Plant winter bloomers near evergreen plants that provide visual structure and color in winter. Combine them with plants that have attractive bark or seed heads for multi-dimensional winter interest. Sixth, plant in groups rather than scattering individual plants. 5 or 10 plants of the same variety creates far more visual impact than 1 plant of each variety scattered throughout the garden. Group plants together for bold color statements. Your winter garden doesn't have to be boring and lifeless. By choosing the right plants, you can have color, fragrance, and beauty from November through March. Whether you choose cheerful yellow winter jasmine, delicate white Christmas roses, or vibrant blue scillas, your garden will provide joy and interest during the darkest, coldest months of the year. These 7 winter flowers are just the beginning. There are many other wonderful winter bloomers worth exploring. We'll feature more of them in future videos, so make sure you're subscribed to Seniors Gardening Advice so you don't miss these gardening guides. If you found this video helpful, please like it and share it with other gardeners in your life. Your comments help us continue creating content that gardeners love. Tell us which winter flower you're most excited to try. Are you going to plant cheerful crocuses, bold English primroses, or fragrant camellias? We'd love to know your plans. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Sam from Seniors Gardening Advice, reminding you that with the right plants, your garden can be beautiful 12 months a year. Keep gardening, keep learning, and we'll see you in the next video.